I need to remove this branch. Yes, seriously. That's a useless branch. A young whip drilling a hole, grafting it on. But not when I'm still building the tree. Hi, welcome. My name is Jelle. This is Growing Bonsai and this is a Japanese maple. This maple is one of 2 Japanese maples that I got a few years ago from a big grower's field. The first couple of years I've been working on getting rid of some big branches. This tree originally, when I bought it, it was about 4 meters tall. So I cut it back, and over the last few years I've been trying to get these wounds to heal. Now last year I decided it's now time to start looking at the main branching. Let's take a look at what I did. In spring I just let the tree grow wild. Then around May I took my scissors and I pruned it back into shape. I looked at the tip of the tree and I said the branches are too long, I'll take those back. And the lower branches are left a little bit longer, so that the attachments to the trunk can develop better. Having done that, I also realized that here at the top of the trunk, there was not a very nice transition, so I decided to cut it off. I took my saw, cut it down, and then with concave cutters, I pruned down the wound so it can heal over. The cut stump is developing perfectly. You can see the cut paste is starting to crack all around the wound, meaning that slowly the bark is growing back over the wound, and I have no doubt that in a few years this wound will be completely closed. Now let's take a look at the wound, what it looks like now. So what you can tell here, there's nice callousing on top, yet at the bottom there's not so much callousing yet. I'll just have to let the top grow a little bit stronger this year. What I want to avoid this time is that again I get something at a really strange angle. This is actually much nicer, so I'm going to remove this one here. I'm going to leave a little stump because I want to really give the tree a chance to dry out by itself, that in summer I can cut this off. In spring I wired out also all the side branches and I placed it in a nice shape. And then in summer I pruned it and I removed the wire. As you can tell, I use different sizes of wire for this. Here I use different colors so that you can actually see where the wire goes and how it goes. Now in summer, as I'm pruning it, I can already tell that there's a little bit of damage. And now in winter, here you can see the scars on the bark, which really is not nice. I was planning on just pruning it like this, but that means that these wire scars are going to be there for the rest of eternity, because this does not grow out all that easily. It might take a number of years before you don't see it anymore. I can live with one loop, I can't live with these 2 here, so guess that's it. This one comes from the knuckle, I'm going to remove that one. Then I still have 2 branches coming from this spot. This has the shortest internode here, but then a very long one. This one has only long ones, so this is going to go off. I'm going to leave this for now. I'm going to prune here in summer, but for now I'm just going to leave it because I want to thicken this branch a lot more. Later in the season, the plant was growing well and I decided to prune it again. And at this time I pruned for profile. I pruned the lower branches much less than the upper branches, in a hope that that would trigger the plant to grow branches with short internodes. What you want in a maple is to get short internodes. And why do you want to get short internodes? This branch shows very clearly the reason why I pay attention to short internodes. There's a node here and there's a node here, and in between there's no nodes. Now Japanese maple are known that they do not really backbud on places where there have not been any nodes. So what I need to do, I need to remove this branch and continue with that one. Yes, seriously, that's a useless branch because of the lack of internodes. Of course, there's people who will say this section you could still get buds here by taking a young whip, drilling a hole, pushing it through and grafting it on. That is true, and I could and I would. And I have, but not when I'm still building the tree. If you're still building the tree, why not start working on short internodes from day one? Now, it is December. Wow, will you look at that? there is already sap flow. Which brings me to another topic. Sap flow in maples. Does it kill a maple? Drop me a comment, let me know if you're interested in me exploring sap flow in maples and whether it kills it or not. In an attempt to create short internodes, I cut the long branches and top back. Very nice example here. You can see there's a node here, there's a node there, there's a node there. But then here there's this whole bunch of very short internodes, which is really cool for building your tree. But this one is not, and that one is not. So in fact, this whole branch is not going to be very useful for building a tree because this first internode is way too long. You can see here these have all dried in to the next node. There's healthy buds here, but it's dried up to there. And the same here. Keep in mind, people talking about dieback, they sometimes forget the difference between actually the dying of a viable branch versus a stump drying up to the nearest node. As said, between this node and that node there's no nodes, so nothing will ever grow. So if I clip this off, it will die all the way up to here. That is natural and predictable with the maple. But that's not what we're looking for. So I cut these off, I cut those off, and what you see here in fall or in late summer, young side branches have popped up. And these have a very nice short internode if you compare it to this internode. So what I'd like to do now, say you don't need this, and now I have a very nice short internode here. I am actually working on getting short internodes at this level so I can take this whole thing off, but I'll leave it for now. As always, prune the tip more than the lower branches, because you don't want as much thickening on top as you want on the lower branches. It is so tempting to remove all these long internodes, even though I said I wouldn't. There we go, almost done. 1, 2, 3. I only want 2. I am going to prune it back quite strongly, so I'm just going to wire the bases. As always, make sure that you support the wire when wiring. Can't do 2 with 1, just wire the end. And this wire is just too thick. I should actually go in the basement and get some new wire, but for now this will do. This whole branch is going to go in summer, yet I'll wire it up just for the sake of wiring it up. So with 3 wired and pruned, it's better visible what still needs to be done. One thing you need to make sure is that the branches that you position have some sort of a rhythm. So here the branches are all facing down, horizontal and up. On both sides, more or less the same. Now what is missing is on this side I am missing a side branch. Here you see the tiny little leaves, and there as well. There might still be buds alive that will pop here. This branch is probably too heavy for the crown. So probably in summer I'll take this away, but this I find a little bit too heavy to take away now right in the top. The tree is really dripping sap already. And this is in December, right? And we just last week had huge amounts of frosts, or 2 weeks ago. But besides that, the tree I think is ready for another year, ready to go back into the garden. And in spring I'll probably repot it. It's been in this pot for quite a while, so a lot of root work is needed, and maybe I'll use this one in a repotting instruction video. But for now, this is all set, ready to go for the next year. This was Growing Bonsai. This is Jelle, and I recommend keep growing bonsai. Right, Xavier wanted to have cuttings of maple trees. Let's take a few of these and plant them up for him as well. See whether this will root in the middle of the winter.